What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary here with you on a Monday morning after a 25-22 loss to the New England Patriots. Fifth straight loss. Jets started 2-1. They are now 2-6, and their season is finished, over with, done before Halloween. Which that in and of itself is not very uncommon for the New York Jets, especially during this playoff drought, which the New York Jets, as a reminder, have the longest active playoff drought in all the four major sports here in North America, by a significant margin. Well, by a few month margin. The Buffalo Sabres are second, but the New York Jets have the longest. January of 2011 was the last time the New York Jets made the playoffs. That is coming up on 14 years in just a few months. And in this video, I wanted to talk about why the 2024 Jets are the most disappointing team in the history of the New York Jets franchise. Now, don't get me wrong. There are years there, and there will likely be years in the past, because the Jets only have 2 wins right now, and if they go 2-15, it's arguably, worse from a record perspective. But let's assume, because the NFL's weird and because the Jets seem to do this at the end of each season, they win a couple meaningless games, that the Jets add a few more wins and they finish with maybe 5 wins on the year. You can go, well, Matt, there's been years where the Jets finished with worse records and less wins. What about the Rich Kotite era? How about Adam Gase when they went 2-14 in 2020? But when you factor in expectations and excitement for this team going into a 2024 season, a highly anticipated season, this is by far the worst. Because when the expectation versus reality is the key point here. I was a baby when Rich Kotite was the coach of the New York Jets. But I remember 2020, and I think most people going into that year, it was coming off a 7-9 season. I think most people were picking the Jets to win 6 or 7 games. So no one thought they were going to be a playoff team that year. Even the most optimistic of Jet fans weren't talking playoffs in 2020 with Adam Gase. But they go 2-14, and they are absolutely horrific, horrible. In my lifetime, I think there's a couple other ones that people are going to bring up as really poor seasons, but I'll tell you why they don't hold a candle to the 2024 Jets. 1999, high expectations, coming off of an AFC championship game appearance in 98. Vinny Testaverde gets hurt in week 1. They never folded and completely quit. They still fought to get to 8-8 that year. And they were still well coached, and they weren't an absolute embarrassment. Now, this next one, 2016, where they go 5-11, that season stunk up until probably this year. Genuinely, up until probably this year. That was my least favorite. Maybe 2020 might have been my least favorite Jets year. That was not fun and torturous in a different way. But 2016, by far, is ranking towards the top of me in seasons that I hated as a Jet fan. They went 10-6 in 2015. But even, again, in an optimistic boat, I think even though they finished with 10 wins, pretty sure 9-10 wins was where the people thought the team was going to end up being in 2016, with a chance to maybe end the playoff drought. And they were bad and toxic, but even that team ceiling with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback, not as high as what people went into looking at 2024 with. 2023, also with Aaron Rodgers going down, is a right away disappointing season. But we're seeing the result of this team with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback now in 2024, and the result is 2-6. Now, Aaron Rodgers has not been the only problem, and he is a problem. He didn't play particularly poorly in this game against the New England Patriots, like if you look at the box score, but he has to be considered when going through the entirety of the Jets' problems. He is on that list. He is on the list of problems. Coaching is on the list of problems. The general manager, the owner. In something I said in a video pretty much all this past week was the Jets have problems top to bottom in the organization. You go all the way up to the top with Woody Johnson. You go all the way down to the bottom of your 53rd best player on the roster, Michael Clemens, who is starting, by the way. Or maybe Greg Zuerlein, actually. It's those two guys who seemingly cost the Jets every single week. Every single week. And at this point, it's not as much so on those two guys anymore, right? Like, yeah, they're not good. It's established. It's already been well established. It's on the general manager and the coaches for putting them in the same position week after week after week to cost the team games. It's on the general manager for not bringing in a new kicker after your kicker that you just, re-signed in the offseason has fell off a cliff. At the first warning signs of this, going back to the Denver game, is when the ears should have started to perk up. It gets worse against Buffalo. He has an extra point blocked that gets changed, and then a field goal blocked against Pittsburgh, and then another week in a row where it's another issue. And I would assume now is when they finally make that change. But talk about too little, too late. Story of the 2024 Jets, too little, too late. I don't know what to say. It's unbelievable. Like, I did the rant yesterday after the game. We did your call-ins after the game. I'm at a loss because this is not where I anticipated this Jets season going. They're 2-6, and there were talks about this team, winning the division and making a run in the playoffs. I said I thought they'd win 11 games. So unless they go on a 9-game winning streak to close it out, I'm going to be wrong. And I don't see this team doing that. I really don't. They're horrible. They are a horrible football team. The most frustrating thing from that game yesterday, one, it should have never been close. Greg Zuerlein missing extra points and missing field goals. But how about your one-day future Hall of Fame quarterback can't get them to the line of scrimmage and can't get a playoff? 3 times in the first quarter, the Jets took timeouts to avoid a delay of game penalty. They blew through all their timeouts in the first quarter to avoid delay of games. It happened again in the second half. They actually took a delay of game on a 2-point conversion that they had to have. That's unacceptable. It is, and that goes on the quarterback. And it's the whole team, top to the bottom. 2024, when you look at what the expectations were for this team and the talent on this team, we knew that there were potential flaws. Defensive line got worse. Questions about the coaching staff. Questions about what Aaron Rodgers would look like coming off the injury. And somehow, this team is 2-6. Most disappointing season in the history of the New York Jets. That's what it is. Not hyperbole, not clickbait, not exaggeration, not whatever adjective you want to toss out there. Reality. 2024, the 2024 New York Jets are the most disappointing team in the history of the New York Jets, which is a lot of freaking disappointment. A lot of disappointment over the, 60 years they've been a franchise? This one, the year we are living through right now, is the worst of them all. They are making diehard fans, optimistic fans even, some of the most optimistic, more optimistic than I, turn on this team. There's zero hope. There's a game coming up in 4 days. Great. The Jets play on Thursday. Short week in prime time again at home. And it's going to be an empty stadium. A game that probably should have been one of the more anticipated games of the season against a really good Texans team at home. This game should have been for, AFC positioning. Nope. Jets are going to lose at home and drop to 2-7. That's what's happening Thursday. Guys, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'm disgusted, frustrated, and I don't know what to say anymore. Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.